All right, so let's talk about what we've alluded to before about Nintendo came out swinging, saying, "Oh, you're saving all your stuff. You're saving your big announcements."
We're coming out hot. Yeah. I don't want to dive like too deep because there's just so much that we might have to make some other videos about specific games. Just because they announced a ton of stuff, right? And
Right.
and with the Nintendo Treehouse, they gave a lot of gameplay with
I
everything.
love Treehouse.
Yeah, so there was a lot of stuff that we might have to, just kind of generally cover.
We could do, like, since we talked before about Pokemon and like the new mechanics, like we could do an entire thing talking about like the new stuff they showed off in the Treehouse demo, because there's like some crazy stuff that like we didn't even get to, you and I haven't even talked about privately that they showed off in the demo that I'm just like, what? Like, this is crazy. What are you doing? So yeah, there's just
Yeah,
so let's just, I guess, go through it as
highlights for you.
big as we can. So I feel like I'm the only one who's really excited that the Dragon Quest hero is coming to Smash.
No, that trailer was so cool. I
It's a
texted you and
really cool
I was
trailer.
like, yo, that was awesome. Like Dark Marth and Meta Knight are just beating the hell out of Link, and then it's like when all hope seems
And
lost,
the
it's like,
hero,
oh no, what's gonna do? And the hero just comes in and pop.
because I thought it was. I mean, it's cool enough that they opened with Smash in the first place, and then the
Yeah.
trailers are really good. And so the hero had been rumored for a while, but nobody was really sure how they were going to do it. Some people thought they were just going to do Erdrick, who is one of the costumes for the hero, but he's like one specific iteration of just generically the hero in all Dragon Quest games. And so it looks like you can be the main one that they show off. Lost you again. The main one that they show off in the trailer is the hero from Dragon Quest XI, also known as the Luminary. So at first I was just like, oh, they're going to do the Luminary, but then they just called him the hero. And then later in the trailer they show the hero from Dragon
All of
Quest
them.
8,
Man.
and then Dragon Quest 4, and then Erdrick from Dragon Quest 3. And definitely at least those 4 are going to be like actual costumes for the character. And then, but there's like, I guess during, if it's the Final Smash, maybe they show sort of like similar to Joker's Final Smash, where it's like the, what's it called, the All Out Attack, where like his buddies from Persona 5 come into the fight. There was like shots of just like a whole bunch of Dragon Quest heroes showing up to fight at the end. So I thought that was just really cool. I'm excited to play as them and just change them up. And also, I don't really know how the mechanics work, but he's got some unique mechanics compared to everybody else as well. Seems like it's sort of a unique take on like Shulk's, system of choosing different buffs.
He looked a lot like Robin, a mix of Robin and Link to me.
Yeah, actually, like the way Robin selects his stuff.
Yeah.
So back is coming this summer, which is cool because it's summer now. So any day now, please. I imagine it's probably going to be more like August, basically at this point, because Dragon Quest 11 Switch is coming in September. What was that? September 27th, I think. Yeah. Which I guess I'll just talk about briefly for now, because I've said before I'm a little annoyed by it because we just got the PS4 version last year, and they like almost immediately announced the Switch version was coming, and the Switch version has a whole bunch of extra stuff in it. There's new features, there's like new quality of life features, there's new like mechanics, and there's also new story content for like your supporting characters.
Right.
So I kind of just stopped playing Dragon Quest XI when I heard about that they were adding new story, because I'm like, if this stuff isn't coming to the PS4 version, I'm just going to pick up, the Switch version on Black Friday or something when it's probably cheaper, and then just play through that one, which seems to be a recurring theme these days. Final Fantasy 12, Zodiac Age. So yeah, so that's my hype Dragon Quest news.
What I thought was really cool is that they started the presentation with Smash and then ended it with Smash.
Right.
That was the funniest trailer I think I've ever seen in my life. Because like the depiction. I was just like, why are King K. Rool, DK, and Diddy Kong just chilling in this treehouse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they go up to the window and it looks like Banjo and Kazooie, and then it's like, it's Duck Hunt just trolling you. And then and they're all like, what? Like, why? And then Banjo slams down on Duck Hunt, and then they're all like, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's all of us. Like, we're all
Yeah.
like, oh my god, yes, Banjo and Kazooie. He looks really fun to play.
Yeah.
Like, really
He looks
good,
good
really
too. Like
strong.
the design is
Yeah,
really
like
good.
really, yeah. It looks really strong. The character design looks really good. The abilities look crazy good. It just all looks awesome, and I'm really hyped for that. I don't know if any of us saw it coming. I don't know if you did or not.
Um,
There were like rumors, like I had
there's been
hoped,
rumors, and
but
he's been like the most requested character,
yeah,
for a
for
while now.
years. Yeah, for years. So it's like it's really exciting to finally see that. And then there were. I mean, I know that they started and ended with, well, not technically ended, but there's something after that we'll talk about. But just to highlight a few of the other things, I'm not going to dive too deep into them because we had already seen gameplay of it. But
Hmm.
Daemon X Machina looks super cool again.
Right.
Astral Chain got what looks to be like actual gameplay in the trailer now,
Mhm.
which it looks really
Another
fun
really
and
cool
really
Treehouse
good.
demo if you're interested.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch it, which I'm going to probably watch it because I want to see how that game plays and because I'm really interested in it. Luigi's Mansion 3. That game looks. I've never played Luigi's Mansion. For just a
Same.
disclaimer, I've always been interested but never did. It looks super fun. I think they said what 8-player co-op or something like that.
Yep.
It was 8-player co-op. As far as like just doing specific challenges, there's 2-player co-op for actual story with Guiji. I think
Luigi.
they
Yeah.
called it. Yeah, Guiji, which
Yep.
I thought was like a really cool idea.
Yeah. I originally thought
Um,
that was like a multiplayer type of thing, and it is, but also
it's
you
a single
play
player
through that
function that you
single
have to
player as
use.
well. Yeah. Which is
Yeah,
which is neat. You know.
yeah, it renders Luigi useless if it's single player, but if it's co-op, then you can move around while everybody does their own thing,
Mhm.
which I think is cool. Um, those are just like my kind of highlights. I mean,
Have you come
Dragon
around
Quest Builders
on
2.
have you come around on Link's Awakening at all? I know you were
Yeah,
still sort of like,
that trailer looks pretty cool.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm gonna pick it up. I don't know.
And
It's
the
I'm still
amiibo they're
like
releasing
so on.
for it. I already pre-ordered the amiibo, and I've been trying to get my hands on the special edition, but of like the actual game, but haven't been able to get a pre-order lockdown yet.
I'm
So
like
crossing my
still
fingers.
on the fence, but then like at the end, because like I said, I never played the original. I have no idea what the original like is about. Nothing,
Hmm.
none of that. At the end, I don't know if this is like actually true or not, but it looked like Dragon Roost Island from Wind Waker to me. I'm assuming it's not because Link's Awakening came way before that,
Hmm.
but it looked a lot like that, and I was really curious, like, oh, what's in the egg at the top of the thing? So I'm like, I guess I might play
Yeah.
it to find out.
Right. Yeah. And they've also
So
introduced this really cool thing that's like a dungeon builder mode
yeah,
that you
yeah,
like
yeah,
pick
yeah,
up
with
dungeon
Dompe,
pieces. Yeah,
with
which I think
Dompe.
that's really cool. That's gonna be a lot of fun. Yeah, I just really like 2D Zelda. Like I've said before, that Link Between Worlds is probably tied with Breath of the Wild as my favorite Zelda game. You know, um, just because I really like the way they feel and how you can run around and stuff like that. So I'm really excited for this one. I at first was like not totally sold on the aesthetic, but now that I've seen more of it, I'm like, yes, this is great. Link is adorable. He looks very brave, and I got that amiibo, and it's gonna be a good time. September 20th for that one.
I'm only shaking my head at the fact that you put Breath of the Wild in your top two, but
It's a good game.
that
It's a good
it's a
game.
good game, horrible ending. I've already said
Wow.
that. That's
Let's
my opinion. I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion,
let's
but I don't even put Breath of the Wild in my top five.
let's address
But
that then. Let's just jump to
that's what I
that.
was going to talk about.
Because
So,
I wanted to talk about one other thing, but we'll wrap back around to that. Um, so I had actually heard that when they at E3, what they'll do for like press is they'll screen like bits of like Nintendo will just show them the whole direct beforehand so that they know here's what is going to be announced, here's what you can be writing about, be prepared for this, here's what's going to be in your appointments, blah 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 blah. But apparently, what they did for this was that they didn't show the Breath of the Wild thing at the end. They cut the video right after, I forget who it is that comes out, if it's the president of Nintendo or who it was, after they come out after the Banjo trailer, and they're like, "So what do you think? We hope you liked our games. We have more to announce in the future," and it just cuts. But in the actual direct, he goes, "We have one more thing," and then they play a trailer for a sequel to Breath of the Wild, which this is why I said before that I didn't want to like bag on the Halo Infinite trailer, because like this is the exact same kind of thing where it's just like, you know, this is a
so,
trailer for a game that you really want.
so, remember, I was already. I'm kind of a Breath of the Wild hater when it comes to that, but because I just don't think it's, to me, that game's not hard. You can beat it very fast. Like there's a lot of things that I don't like about it, but it's still a good game, right? So like all the way up until the final boss and the final cutscenes, I think it's great. I'm more excited for the sequel than I was the original game after like I beat it, because I was
Right.
like, after I beat it, I was like, I don't care. Like, get this out of my sight. Like, I was really annoyed with the way it ended. And then now it looks like Ganondorf has a true humanoid
Mm-hmm.
form again, which looks freaking
Right.
awesome.
Everybody's speculating, yeah, that that's
Looks
Ganondorf right there.
super good. It's got to be, dude. It's literally identical to like his
Mm-hmm.
character model, etc. That, or it's, well, actually, I don't know if I can say that. You never beat Skyward Sword, did you?
No, but I know about Demise.
Okay, he does look like the final. That character looks like the final
Mm-hmm.
boss in Skyward Sword as well. Um, the only what I was saying to, I was talking to my buddy the other night. He was like, "Oh yeah, I saw this trailer. Like, I've never played Legend of Zelda, but it looks pretty, like, really cool." I was like, honestly, like, if they were gonna do anything with Breath of the Wild, I was kind of hoping they would have done a prequel about why Link ended up in the healing chamber,
But that's
like
in the game.
that
You just
story.
didn't do that stuff.
No, it is. I know, but I want to play through it. I don't want to just. I
Mm,
want to just see it. I want to be
right.
able to play it. Um, but I am curious to see, like, now that in Breath of the Wild, obviously with every Legend of Zelda game, you beat Ganon, or in this case, it's Calamity Ganon. Um, so I'm interested to see like why he's down there, what that means, if that truly was like was that humanoid form controlling that, and it was just like a small portion of his power, and that's why
Right.
he was able to be held back by Zelda for so long, or what. Like, I think
Right.
that would be a really cool take on it. And I'm also interested to see how Zelda is incorporated in the game now that she's not stuck in Hyrule Castle holding him in the whole time,
Right.
because in the trailer it showed them side by side in a lot of the scenes. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and people have pointed out like, pretty much everybody wants you to be able to play as Zelda at some point, in the games, especially this one. Like this iteration of Zelda, maybe my favorite version of Zelda. And they point out that she's wearing like what looks like armor and might even have a weapon on her at one point. The trailer focuses primarily on her doing things in this cavern. Link's kind of just like chilling in the background, so I don't want to get my hopes up, because every time I get my hopes up, I'm disappointed with this, but I think that could be an
we might
interesting
have
angle.
Zelda as a main character.
Yeah,
You
even
think
as
we're
just
gonna
like
have?
I don't necessarily need to play the entire game as her. That would be that. I mean, I wouldn't say no to that. That'd be amazing. But I'll take the compromise of a couple sections of the game you get to play as Zelda. Whatever. I'll settle. Um,
Yeah,
I'm
I
interested
agree.
to
I think
see.
that'd be really cool.
I'm interested to see how they expand on that world because so much about the appeal of Breath of the Wild, of the whole game, is just exploring and living in that world and just being a part of it and doing what you want to do. And we've done that now at this point, so how do you make that fresh again? How do you not just do that but one more time, kind of a thing? I mean, even though,
Right.
like, yeah, me, like, I do still pick up Breath of the Wild and just start a new save file and just do something new, you know what I mean? But for an entirely new game, you got to go just one step more. So there's some interesting things in the trailer. The castle seems to rise up out of the ground at the end of it. So maybe the landscape gets changed somehow. That could be interesting, kind of like maybe a Dark World kind of a thing, from previous Zeldas. And
Right.
I also would like to see how does Ganondorf play into all of this, as obviously we know before he became Clamid again, and at some point, in the timeline, we knew him as Ganondorf multiple times. So how does he incorporate into that now? Just the fact that it exists at all, like, officially, is, I think, maybe just even the coolest thing.
What do you think they're going to call it? Because they're not going to call it Breath of the Wild 2. They haven't done that in forever.
No,
Like they haven't done that since the first and second game.
when even the second game was just called Zelda 2, Link's Adventure. Not even the
That's what I
Legend
mean.
of Zelda 2. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they would call it. I would think maybe they would. Because of the fact that they said that it is a sequel to Breath of the Wild, makes me think that they will name it something that evokes
Similar.
the same name. Yeah, whether it's blah 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 of the wild or blah 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 breath of the blah blah blah. Something that uses similar phrasing.
Breath of Calamity.
Yeah, right.
That'd be cool.
There's a lot of different ways that they could take it. They could do like Link Between Worlds isn't actually like a direct sequel to A Link to the Past, but it takes place in the same world, so they do something similar there. That's a similar type of phrasing, and I could see them doing something like that. I've seen a couple websites that you can actually pre-order the game already that do call it Breath of the Wild 2, and somebody made like a box art for that says Breath of the Wild 2, which is obviously not like I don't think it's going to be called Breath of the Wild 2. I don't really see them doing that at all. That'd be very surprising to me. But they could do a lot of different things with it, short of just calling it a totally different name. Because I think that they would want to. I mean, I think the best-selling Zelda game, one of the best-selling games on the Switch. You'd think that they would want to remind people that it is a sequel somehow.
Right.
So, Breath of the Wild 2, Ganondorf's Revenge.
Well, we do know like it has to be a direct sequel though, because like
It is. It absolutely is. Yeah.
that's what I mean. Like they haven't done that since what, Majora's Mask.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well, Phantom
even
Hourglass
Majora's
is a
Mask,
sequel to Wind Waker, but it's on a different platform. So,
yeah.
but with both of those
that
cases,
whole
and with like Zelda 2 is a direct sequel to the first one. Case of Majora's Mask, Phantom Hourglass. But in each of those cases, you are not exploring the same world.
exactly
In Majora's Mask, you're not exploring Hyrule anymore. You're in Termina. Phantom Hourglass, you are, I forget where, somewhere else in that ocean.
doesn't matter. That game sucks.
Zelda 2, you're exploring North Hyrule, totally different area. So, which is part of me wonders, are we going back to the same Hyrule that's different, or are we somehow opening up a totally different world?
Are they gonna go Wind Waker on us? And because like with the castle rising up out of the ground,
Yeah, flood the whole thing.
well, no, not flood it, but like
Yeah, I wouldn't see
make
them doing that.
just like just make it like a completely different terrain and add space or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, part of me thinks that they wouldn't do things too insanely different, because you got to think part of the reasoning why they're doing it this way is because they spend so much time building this new universe for Zelda, that they want to get one more usage out of all that stuff, you know,
Right.
because they hadn't made a game of this scale, ever. So all that time and assets that you've made, I mean, so which also
Well,
makes me hope. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but makes me hope that maybe they can turn this game around a little faster than like 3 years from now. Not saying we'll get it by the end of 2020 even, but maybe early 2021 we could see it. Because they're clearly reusing stuff that they built the first time, which will save them a ton of development time. Kind of like what I said about
what I was just
Final Fantasy earlier.
what I was just thinking is, there aren't really traditional dungeons in that game, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
the divine beast. The only real traditional dungeon is the castle, right? So what if when, the castle rises up, there's like a shift change, and then all these secret dungeons, or like even like bigger versions of the shrines are
Right,
revealed, and those are like more like traditional dungeons that you have to complete, and like this is where something's hidden,
right,
etc. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I think that'd be a cool way of
yeah,
doing it, because I like traditional dungeons. I thought the divine beasts were way too easy to complete.
yeah. And I don't think anybody would complain if they like reduced the number of shrines, but like made them more dungeony. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
in the trailer, there's like a shot of presumably where they are that looks like it's like the mouth of a cave, but there's like some sort of ornate animal thing around it, which kind of evokes the idea of like a more traditional Zelda dungeon, so you doing something like that makes you think. Again, they're just throwing stuff out in the trailer that could mean anything, it could mean nothing right now, but that does make you think maybe they are going to do something with dungeons. I would think
Yeah.
like that was sort of one of the major criticisms of Breath of the Wild, was that, like you said, it was much easier than a lot of the other Zelda games, and it didn't have traditional dungeon structures, except for a couple
I think that
shrines
goes hand in
above and
hand,
beyond,
though. I think that goes hand in hand, though. The fact that there weren't traditional dungeons is the reason that it wasn't as difficult. Like,
That could be part of it. I mean, because, well, every Zelda game has like its own sort of approach to dungeon design. Even within the same game, some games have very simple, straightforward dungeons, and some games have really more complex dungeons. You know what I mean? Some games, a lot of people dislike Skyward Sword for being incredibly easy because Fee explains everything to you, but that game also has some of the most involved dungeons of any of the games. Um,
right.
I would think that if you're going to bother making a sequel to Breath of the Wild, that's probably the place you should go. Is figure out a way to give the player some of that openness, with still making more traditional feeling dungeons. Because you
Yeah.
could also, while we're just spitballing here, you could also take more of like a sort of Metroid approach, where it's like you can explore wherever you want to go, but there are certain places you're not going to be able to go to yet until you've done X, Y, and Z. Until you have that upgrade, you can't get in there yet. So the first Breath of the Wild wants to allow the player to go to whatever dungeon you want, whatever divine beast you want, whenever you want to, you know. But you could imagine them saying, well, let's still allow that to an extent, but there are still, gates basically that you can't progress to a certain point until you've got this item, or until you've done this thing.
Yeah.
I think that there's some things they could figure out now that they know what that type of game feels like. And
Now, you said that there was one other thing that you wanted to touch on, correct?
yeah, I just wanted to bring up really quick, since we mentioned it earlier, that the collection of mana is in fact actually available right now to buy in the US. You can get the digital version. There's a physical version coming in August, which I'm just going to wait for at this point because I've already waited long enough to play Seiken Densetsu 3. Might as well just wait at this point. But so I don't know if we really talked about that at all, if you know like the background of that. So like the Mana series is like in the
The original.
US.
They were broadcast as the Final Fantasy games, right?
The original Mana game was Final Fantasy Adventure
Yeah,
on the
that's what I
Game
meant.
Boy, and then the Secret of Mana was a game on the Super Nintendo,
Yeah, I have
and
that on
it's
the
on the
Super
Super Nintendo
Nintendo.
Classic. Yep.
Yeah.
But the third game in the series was never released in the U.S. and has never been re-released, even though it's been re-released multiple times in Japan. And kind of the reason why was because they said, well, they never bothered to do an English translation. It's never been localized, so they would have to do that if they were ever to bring it to the U.S. So kind of their way around doing that now, it seems, is they've done a 3D remake of the game. Like they did this with like a year ago with Secret of Mana. They did a 3D remake. So they did a 3D remake of the third one, which they're calling Trials of Mana. And that game has English voice acting and a whole English script. So it seems as if they're just taking that, sticking it on top of the original Super Nintendo Mana 3, and now are able to release that in English in the US, which is pretty cool.
Yes.
So you can pick that up again right now if you want to, or wait until August when the physical version comes out, or sometime next year the 3D version is going to be coming out. And actually, it looks really cool. They did a Treehouse demo of the 3D one, and it looks like if you had just shown me that and we're just like, here is the new Mana game, not even saying that it was a remake of the third one, I would have been like, oh, that looks really cool, so
I agree.
So that's pretty cool. And also, The Witcher 3 is coming to Switch, which we mentioned, but I don't know how. I'll believe it when I see it.
No thanks.
You're
I
also
mean, there was also some other.
you
There's
were
also
excited by
some
Mario
other
and
big.
Sonic at the Olympics again,
Yeah,
which I saw
that
some
looks so
footage
cool.
of, and actually looks really cool. There's skateboarding. There's
There's
archery.
skateboarding, surfing,
Yeah.
there's rock climbing, like kickboxing. I just thought it was really cool that they were, introducing some new stuff because I really loved the original on Wii. So I thought it was really cool that they were bringing it back and adding a lot of different,
Right.
like variety of stuff. So some other big name games, Animal Crossing update, it did get pushed
It
back
got delayed.
again.
Yep.
Yeah. So they asked for a little bit more time for Animal Crossing fans. I'm not a huge Animal Crossing fan, but
I've only played the first DS one.
I have the 3DS one. I've never even opened it. Yeah.
I've almost bought it a couple times. Maybe I'll pick it up next week.
Yeah, I've never even opened it. And then there's one other game I was thinking of that was a big name. I don't think we.
Spyro's coming to Switch. You're still going to have
Well,
the
that's been talked about for a
two
while.
games. Ni no Kuni again is coming to Switch.
Yeah, there was one other game, but I forget. So
Panzer Dragoon is getting a remaster.
mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if it's a remake or a remaster actually. Resident Evils 5 and 6 are coming to the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
So
That trailer was really cool.
All of those except for 2 and 3 are going to be playable on Switch now. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
I think that's really it. No More Heroes 3. If you played No More Heroes, that's pretty cool. Cadence of Hyrule looks cool.
Yeah, that looks cool.
And
I thought that was interesting.
New Contra game, which some people are into.
Yeah, that looks cool as well. Was that all in the Nintendo Direct? Yeah,
Well, they also Empire of Sin, Minecraft Dungeons, The Sinking City. These are all ports. Alien Isolation, New Super Lucky's Tale, Dead by Daylight, and Dauntless.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no Metroid news, which should not really have been a surprise considering they had to reboot the entire game. And Bayonetta was not shown off, but afterwards, someone at Platinum made a statement saying that it is still in development and is doing very well, and they just didn't have any significant updates to share, so that's why they didn't show it off, because they're not ready to show it off yet.
Yes.
Sure. I can respect that. And also, the Switch schedule in particular is incredibly packed right now, so, they have...
No more, please. No more, please.
What's the release date for Luigi? Did they give one? They gave one, didn't they? They did not. They just said it's 2019 still.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe October or December, because Pokemon's coming out in November. Are they going to release Luigi's Mansion right after Pokemon. It's going to get eaten alive.
Probably.
And then, but they don't really have a big like Christmas game. But is Luigi's Mansion big enough to be a big Christmas game? I don't know. Animal Crossing got delayed. I can't imagine they're going to like surprise us with something between now and then. At this time last year they had announced Smash was coming by the end of the year, so
yeah,
it'd be.
I don't know, but
it would be totally like amazing if between now and December they were like, oh, by the way, blah 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 game is coming out in December.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah, so I look towards October or December for Luigi's Mansion 3.
Yeah, cool. So, final thoughts on Nintendo?
Nintendo wins.
Yes.
Nintendo.
I think Nintendo. That's true. I think they won.
I love my Switch. Still rumors that there's going to be two new models coming, a Pro model and a Mini model. They did not announce either of those, obviously, so we'll have to see what happens. The rumor, I had heard that The Witcher 3 was coming before they announced it, with the rumor being that they were going to announce a Switch Pro and say, hey, The Witcher 3 will run on this. That's why you should get it. So I don't know if that's still going to come out when The Witcher 3 comes out or not. Nintendo's kind of weird when it comes to those kinds of announcements, like when they did the last 2DS model, they just announced that during the Treehouse Live after their actual direct. Like you can imagine Nintendo like a month from now being like, oh yeah, by the way, we have our own event now because we're that good. We're gonna have our own event to talk about 2 new Switch models coming before the end of the year. Christmas time, go get your new Switches. So
yeah, I could see it. But yeah, I agree. Nintendo wins.
Yep.
Overall thoughts on E3, it was really good. This is kind of more towards the pod. Huh?
So my wallet's gonna hurt for a little while.
Yeah, true.
They pre-ordered all the amiibo they announced, so that's good.
Yeah. So E3 as a whole, really good. I don't know which spell. But I'm excited. There's a lot of games that look good. There's a lot of games that, oh God, really? There's a lot of games that aren't so good. But we'll see if anything changes by the time they release.
Yeah, I think there was a little something for everybody this year. Like there's some E3s where, with my sort of more niche, maybe RPG leanings in games, I'm not always satisfied. But this year was good for me. I think it was good for people that like things that I don't like. Everybody got a little bit of something this year, even without Sony being there. So, there's a lot of talk about.
To show we don't need Sony.
Yeah, well, not even that. I think it just because people were like speculating, oh, if Sony doesn't show up this year, maybe that spells the beginning of the end for E3. And I don't know. I think maybe I'm not sure what it's like on the ground floor because I'm obviously not there right now. But in terms of what we saw from home, I think they adapted pretty well. Everybody was able to, show off their own stuff. And
I don't think it's the beginning.
If it's a little, if it's a little smaller of a show, that's okay. I
don't even think it has anything to do with that. I mean, I've already said I'm a very clear hater of Sony at this point. I mean, I'm not like a hater, but I do like my old PS2 and stuff like that and certain PlayStation exclusive games, but I can undeniably say that I hate Sony's attitude. So, maybe they were just, like, well, everybody else is, teaming up and working together. I'm not coming, because they're just alone. Like, they don't want to cooperate with anyone. So, I think it was actually a better thing.
They announced some kind of like gentleman's agreement basically with Microsoft about how they were going to jointly work on streaming together, kind of as like a response to Google Stadia, which we didn't even talk about because that wasn't technically an E3 thing, but they did a press conference right before E3,
Yeah, well, that can be a different video.
But
wasn't it oh, it was Connect, yeah.
Yeah, they call it Stadia Connect. Say not Nintendo Direct.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I think that things like I think it's good for, in a sense, the industry to be able to say, hey, here's one time every year where we know people are going to be interested and we know people are going to be excited. So let's lean into that, because it's fun, even for fans. It's fun to be excited about, Final Fantasy VII for 10 minutes at a time. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that kind of stuff is good. And I think they still managed to do that even without, one of the platform holders there. So I think that just shows how in the future they'll be able to adapt to whatever the situation ends up being.
Yeah. 100%.
Cool. All right, well, let's wrap this up.
Yes.
I'm trying to get a computer update right now. Nope, save that for later.
Yeah, my device is dying. Okay, I have less than 10% at this point.
Okay, well, then we're in the danger zone, so let's finish up here. I think we're going to do... I like the idea of us talking about Kingdom Hearts DLC speculation, so we'll do that in the future probably. And then there's going to be more... it seems like people have really attached on to my Jack unboxing, which is great because I've talked to you before. I've almost done so many unboxing videos like in the last year, that like I just was like, no one's gonna care. So clearly people do care. So I will start doing more of those because I pick up a lot of stuff that I could do that with. So,
and actually, we're only about a week away at this point of going to too many games.
Yep.
So I'm honestly, I think I'm just gonna do some vlogs. Like you and me, we'll walk around. Hopefully get some footage with some developers. I know I've plugged it before,
right?
But and I don't know about you, but I'm planning on entering the Smash tournament. So maybe while I'm playing, you can get some footage of the screen or something. We'll see. We'll talk about all that, but some exciting stuff to see in the future for everyone. So
yeah, maybe we'll do like I know I'm gonna be buying a bunch of junk, so I'll maybe do like a convention pickups video on Sunday. Because that's going to be next Friday, the 21st to the 23rd in Oaks, Pennsylvania, the Greater Philadelphia Expo Center, I believe is the full name of the place.
It is. Greater Philadelphia Expo.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit before. I mean, again, if you're new here, it's a good time. You can come check it out if you're in the area. Just really great gaming convention, all kinds of panels, tournaments, games you can just pick up and play, and then also a bunch of indie devs that are showing off their games that they're working on, which is a really great way to just talk to some developers and hear about new and upcoming games. So that's where we're going to be, and that might be the next weekish of stuff here.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. Okay, so that's going to be it. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Like the video if you like these videos. Subscribe to the channel, of course, if you have not already subscribed. Maybe if you're popping in after having watched the Jack video and want to see what we're about. Stick around, please. You can also check out our Twitch channel where we do sporadic streams. We are at Brotherly Love G1. Follow us on Twitter, also at Brotherly Love G1, where we will announce things like streams, so you know when we're actually streaming. And I think that's all the socials. If you're on the podcast, because there is an audio version of this show as well, please leave us a
full length thing.
iTunes. Yeah, we got a couple of really good ratings on iTunes. I haven't checked it recently to see if we have any like worded reviews, so those are very appreciated. If you like feedback, and if you want to see me open up a box of something, let me know, and I'll.
Yeah, you're picking up all kind of zany crap all the time, so
I really am.
We might do a little more of those.
Yeah, I probably should talk about that kind of stuff more because it is kind of, not weekly, but multiple times per month at this point where I'm grabbing things that I can show off. So it seems like people like that, so we can talk about it. But all right, that's it. We'll see you all next time. Thanks for hanging out.
See you.
Bye.